talk about USA basketball. Did a video yesterday afternoon late that Caitlin Clark is among a number of participants that's headed to the senior training camp for Team USA. Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA during the...
Man, this whole thing just blew up and hit the league like a ton of bricks, completely destroying any idea that things were improving. Right when everyone was celebrating Caitlin Clark getting that invite to the senior training camp, a new graphic dropped. It was supposed to be a welcome from Team USA, but the face everyone expected to see wasn't there. The most important, game-changing player in women's basketball was missing, and it felt like a deliberate slap in the face, a public benching that sparked a massive controversy and left fans furious over the disrespect. This wasn't some simple mistake. It was a loud, clear message, and the total silence from the people in charge was absolutely deafening.
Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA during the Olympics. By the way, of which the guy that runs the 2028 Olympics, he come out and said he thought it was a terrible idea leaving her off the team. Adam Silver said, hey, I think this was an opportunity that they could have had to have grown women's sports. Something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said. Do you want to grow the sport? Do you want to...
Look, this isn't the first time this has happened. The memory of that whole Olympic roster disaster still stings. That was when Clark was somehow left off the team, even with a massive public outcry. A lot of people thought, and it seems pretty foolish now, that USA basketball had actually learned its lesson from that huge mistake. But here we are again, watching another completely baffling decision that once again pushes the growth of women's sports to the back burner. The pattern is so obvious now. They treat Caitlin Clark's incredible popularity like it's some kind of problem, instead of seeing it as a massive opportunity. It's a huge strategic mistake that's costing the sport so much and leaving everyone confused.
In sports, something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said. Do you want to grow the sport? Do you want to... I said NBC should have been furious that she was not on the Olympic team. They would have shattered... They might have shattered potentially basketball, actual Olympic basketball records, maybe outside of the old Dream Team kind of records, right? Back when television ratings in general were just higher because there was no streaming services, yada, yada, yada. But you get my point. It'd have been a huge rating.
Even the biggest names in sports called out that original Olympic snub. We're talking about the head of the 2028 Olympics, a guy whose entire job is to get people around the world engaged. And he publicly said that leaving Clark out was a terrible idea. Then you had NBA Commissioner Adam Silver saying the exact same thing. He knew it was a massive missed chance to grow women's basketball in a huge way. These weren't just some casual comments. They were serious criticisms from the very top of the sports world, and they exposed a massive disconnect in how USA basketball makes its decisions. The message from leadership was crystal clear, but they just completely ignored it. Huge mistake.
Instead, they continue to treat Caitlin Clark like she's a leper. What are we doing? What are we doing? The WNBA, Team USA, I don't understand. When I did my video last night, I had not seen this. Shit, I got up this morning and I've seen it now. And we'll get to the reaction. By the way, heads up, Christine Brennan's the one that really caught my eye on this. And, you know, just to put it out.
Imagine how furious NBC must have been. Or at least how frustrated they should have felt. If Clark had been on that Olympic team, the TV ratings would have absolutely shattered records. We could have been looking at numbers comparable to the legendary Dream Team, especially with how people consume media today. Instead, that golden opportunity was completely wasted. All that potential for unbelievable ratings was left sitting on the table. It wasn't just a win for women's basketball. It was a guaranteed ratings bonanza for the broadcasters. A massive financial and cultural moment was deliberately thrown away. It was an incredibly short-sighted decision that cost millions in potential money and exposure.
Added the photo of one other player to this graphic, but no. I'm going to keep it real. She's the only player I'd have put on that graphic. The only player. I mean, at some point, this women's basketball has got to quit worrying about hurting people's little feelings. Siri, do you want to grow or do you not want to grow? I mean, you put Kaylee Copper, okay, Kelsey Plum, and I'm guessing this is probably Chelsea Gray, right?
The latest thing that really set fans off was a post from well-known sports journalist Christine Brennan. She pointed out something so simple yet so powerful. If USA Basketball truly wanted to promote the sport and bring in new fans, they obviously would have put Caitlin Clark front and center on their promotional graphics. Her critique was simple but devastating, and it went viral. It got over 250,000 views and put USA Basketball in a really defensive position. It was clear, undeniable proof that the public could see straight through the organization's weak attempts to engage people, exposing a huge gap between what they claim their mission is and what they actually do. Then Caitlin Clark and
Clark. And I paid attention then long enough to throw up in a bucket. I mean, this is nuts. USA women's basketball is back. 18 athletes will attend December 12th through the 14th, Durham, North Carolina. By the way, you want to know one reason why the ratings were down for the last Olympics on women's basketball? People boycotted it because Caitlin Clark wasn't named to the team.
The graphic itself was incredibly revealing. Yes, it included other very talented players like Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray, but it was painfully obvious who was missing. The one athlete who has, without any doubt, become the face of the entire sport was nowhere to be found. You could feel the reaction all over social media. People were saying things like, "Who are these players again?" And this wasn't about disrespecting the other athletes. It was about recognizing a global phenomenon. USA Basketball seems determined to prioritize its own internal politics over basic common sense, refusing to showcase their most recognizable and marketable player. It's a completely baffling strategy that actively works against the goals they claim to have.
Boycotted it because Caitlin Clark wasn't named to the team. I remember. That was a huge story on this channel. A huge story. So, a lot of people noticed Christine's post. It got over 250,000 views. And it looks to me like that USA Basketball chose to leave the conversation.
They should have seen this coming, because that first Olympic snub had real consequences. A lot of fans actually boycotted women's basketball games. The viewership for those events completely plummeted, and it was a direct, undeniable result of Clark being excluded. This wasn't just a handful of people complaining online. It was a measurable collective action from an extremely passionate fan base. The message was loud and clear back then, but it seems like USA Basketball deliberately ignored the numbers. Now, with this latest incident, the risk of alienating even more fans and watching those viewership numbers drop again is very real. It honestly feels like they are determined to repeat the same mistakes, no matter the cost.
Basketball at the 2024 Olympics. This is a continuing story. They learned nothing. They learned nothing. They are still fighting the CC motion with everything they have. Did I watch the last Olympics without CC? Nope. Will I watch this team with CC? Yes. I'm not the only one. You're not the only one.
You're not the only one who thinks so. The public backlash became so intense that USA Basketball quietly started removing some of their own social media posts that included that controversial graphic. The main post is still up, but it's getting absolutely flooded with negative comments and overwhelming criticism. That quick retreat, even without an actual apology, says everything. It shows they know a massive storm is coming, and they're desperately trying to control the narrative. But in today's world of instant information, moves like that only make the original snub look even worse, digging the hole even deeper. For decades, the mission of a group like USA Basketball has been two things: win medals and grow the sport. But by repeatedly pushing their biggest star to the side, they've completely failed at the second part of their job. Yes, they're still winning medals, but they're doing it at the cost of expanding their audience and securing the sport's future. It genuinely feels like USA Basketball is still fighting the Caitlin Clark movement with everything they have, refusing to embrace the one player who has undeniably transformed the game. People even point to past decisions, like Diana Taurasi being put on an Olympic team just to sit on the bench, as proof that they prioritize established names over athletes who actually bring in new viewers. The criticism gets even more uncomfortable, with some fans suggesting there's a double standard working against Clark, whispering that she doesn't check the right boxes. Whether that's true or not, the perception alone is incredibly damaging. The bottom line is simple: Caitlin Clark is the most global women's basketball player in existence, and ignoring her appeal is pure self-sabotage. Many fans believe people inside the league just can't stand that she's the main reason anyone is tuning in. Some even think the new coach might be jealous of her success. And the data doesn't lie. Viewership for Fever Games dropped more than 50% after the first Olympic snub. Leaving the most popular female athlete on the planet off a promotional poster isn't a marketing decision. It's a catastrophic mistake. It makes you want to ask, what are we even doing here? The path to success is so obvious, yet they seem determined to fumble it on purpose. The message couldn't be clearer. If they leave Caitlin Clark off the final roster again, the world is going to explode.